Hi there, this is Ranjit, and in this video we'll be doing the full review for the Samsung Galaxy J7 Pro, and this is sort of a upper mid-range smartphone from Samsung, and it cost around 20,500. But is it worth it for that price? I've been testing this smartphone for the last 10 days, so I'll be dividing this review between the pros and cons so that you can decide if this smartphone is right for you or not. But before that, here are the specs for the Samsung Galaxy J7 Pro. As you can see, it's powered by the Exynos 7870 processor, which is actually not a very new processor, but this one has 3 GB of RAM and 64 GB of internal storage, and I like the fact that it is a proper dual SIM device. It also has a fingerprint scanner, a 5.5-inch Super AMOLED screen, and other specs are on the screen. So let's divide this review between the pros and cons. First, I'll go over the pros. What are the things I liked about this device? And later on, we'll move to the cons. What are the things that I did not like about this device? So let's start with the pros. And the first thing that I really liked about this device was the build quality. The build quality is one of the best in this price segment. It feels like a premium handset when you hold it. So no compromises in the build quality. Only nitpicking if I have to do is that everything is fine. The volume, the power on off button, everything is fine. Fingerprint scanner, everything. But I noticed slight flex in the volume rockers. Apart from that, excellent build quality, and also it looks much more premium. For example, yes, it is having a bigger screen, but it looks very similar to the Galaxy S6, and it also has this ambient display. So regarding build quality, very good build quality. Now moving to another thing is that fortunately this device does not skimp on a lot of sensors, and it also has the auto brightness sensor, and I'm happy to say that the auto brightness sensor works fine in most conditions. You don't have to always fiddle with the same. Next thing is that, again, regarding the sensors, many of the Samsung phones, especially in the mid-range, Samsung has a habit of omitting most of the sensors, but I'm glad to say that they didn't do that with this one. It has all the important sensors, and even gyroscope, compass, those sensors are present. I tried YouTube 360 degrees videos with this one, and it worked fine. Let me just mute this one. And I also tested GPS functionality with Google Maps. I was just going somewhere and it worked fine with this device. Moving to the speaker, it has just a single speaker here. It's in a very odd position, but it is adequately loud. It's not a stereo speaker though. Now moving to another thing that I liked with this device is that, in fact, I did a gaming also with this device. I have already posted it's a gaming review. I played quite a few games, and it ran many of the games fine without any issues. But if you try to play some of the heavy games at very high settings, yes, then you might notice some lag. So that is one thing I noticed. But the good thing was that even after extended gaming, and I was using this handset as my primary handset for almost a week, even with heavy multitasking and stuff, this handset does not get warm. So that is, it slightly gets warm but never hot. The maximum, even when I did gaming, was just 38 degrees centigrade. So in terms of heat dissipations, Samsung has done a good job. Now moving to the battery, again here I got good results. It has a big battery. It's a 3600 milliamp hour battery, and I was easily getting about 1.5 days of usage with this device, even with dual SIM. I was using it with Airtel and Jio, and yes, obviously Reliance Jio 4G VoLTE works on this device. So even with dual SIM, I was averaging about at least 1.5 days of usage. As you can see from the charts, even the screen on time was actually very good with this device. So in terms of battery life, I was satisfied, and it will easily last, even if you're sort of a very heavy user, for a full working day without any issues. And for the most users, I would say it will easily last for about 1.5 days. And if you're sort of a casual user, it will give you almost 2 days of battery life. So in terms of battery life, I'm pretty happy. Again, this is surprising because many of the Samsung smartphones don't give that great battery life. Now moving to the screen, again it has a Super AMOLED screen. It's a 5.5-inch 1080p screen, and again Samsung has used a good quality screen on this. And I also like the fact that we have this ambient display, so the time is always shown. You can disable it if you want, but I did my battery testing with always this ambient display on, and with that also I was getting about 1.5 days of battery life. So you have this, but one con is that it does not have a physical LED notification light. So if you are looking for that, that is not present on this device. Now moving to camera, The rear facing camera is actually good. It has a f1.7 lens, and I was surprised that even in outdoor conditions, as that is at evening and night, some of the snaps that I took came out good. But again, as this device does not have any optical image stabilization, you have to be careful when taking shots, especially at night, because you can get blurry shots because it does not have OIS. But overall, I would say the camera performance was actually surprising. The camera shots came out to be actually good with this device. But again, don't expect it to compete with higher end Samsung phones. Those have optical image stabilization. This does not have optical image stabilization. So especially if you're taking shots in evening, you have to be perfectly still to take the shots. This is a quick sample that I shot with the rear facing camera, and as you can see, this is in night conditions. The lighting was not that good, but the video came out to be okay. Yes, the focus was jumping a little bit due to pretty low light, but again, it can record decent video. I'm recording this sample with the front-facing camera of the Galaxy J7 Pro, and as you can see, I am in my office, and this is in artificial lighting conditions. So this should give you an idea regarding the video and the audio quality of the Galaxy J7 Pro. Now, moving to another thing that this device has is that it has full integration for Samsung Pay. So if you add your credit cards and stuff, you can just go to a credit card machine and just tap it and pay. So that functionality is there on this device. And also moving to the fingerprint scanner. The fingerprint scanner actually is pretty good on this one. Let me show you. As you can see, you just tap in and it works. And it is very responsive. I would say it works most of the time. So the fingerprint scanner that is provided is also very good. But again, one minor con that I notice is that if there is a little bit moisture, if your hands are wet, then it will not work. But apart from that, as you can see, the fingerprint scanner also works. Now, these were the good things about this device. Now, let's move to the things that I did not like with this device. And again, as I've already mentioned, it does not have that physical LED notification light, so you have to be aware of that. Also, again, as it's a Samsung device and it's sort of a mid-range device, I think so Samsung intentionally did the stupid things to cripple this device. For example, they removed haptic feedback on these multitasking and the back buttons, and if you notice it, it also does not have any backlighting. So I think so Samsung, just to differentiate their product from their premium lineup to the mid-range, intentionally disabled those backlighting and the haptic feedback. Even I found this really silly that the default keyboard that comes with this device, when you type, it does not have any haptic feedback. But I installed Google Keyboard, that is a Gboard, and using that I could get haptic feedback. So the vibration motor, everything is there. Just to differentiate the product, they are just disabling those features. So I find it silly. That is one thing I noticed. Now, moving to RAM management, here I was sort of disappointed with this device. It has 3 gigabytes of RAM, and I would say the RAM management is not done well with this device. It frequently tries to load the apps. If you're sort of a moderate to heavy user, if you're a very casual user, you won't notice it because it holds approximately about between 3 to 4 apps in the memory. But apart from that, for example, if you're a sort of heavy user, you'll be moving from one app to the other app, then you might notice app reloading. So the RAM management definitely is not that great on this device. Also, you might notice some minor UI lag at times. It's not always that I notice the UI lag, but sometimes when I was doing heavy multitasking, moving between here and there, I noticed some minor UI lag. So again, that is also something you have to note. But again, to be fair, it was not always, only sometimes I noticed that. Also, I did not like the fact that as this device is almost around 20,000 price point, Samsung should have given fast charging, but we don't have any fast charging on this device. And this device is having that huge battery, 3600 milliamp hour battery. So it takes slightly over 2 hours for this one to charge. So that is again one more thing you have to note. Also, this is the biggest con I have with this device, and that is regarding the processor that Samsung has used on this one. They're using the old Exynos 7870 processor on this device, which is actually more than 1 year old processor. This was used in some of the Galaxy J7s that were launched last year, and they are using the same one on this one. And that is a decent processor for a 720p screen, but this is having a 1080p screen. And the GPU that is used on this is not that powerful. And I feel that minor lag that I was mentioning sometimes that you notice is because of that GPU. So I feel for this price point, Samsung should have used a processor like the Snapdragon 625 or a more powerful Exynos processor. If they would have done that, this would have been one of the best mid-range overall smartphone. But definitely this processor that they have used was a wrong choice in my frank opinion. Yes, if you are sort of a casual user, you won't notice, but if you are a sort of a heavy or a power user, then you will definitely notice that lagginess that is due to the processor. And now to sum it up, I would say moving to the price also, definitely you are paying that Samsung tax for this device, because if you take into account the price to performance ratio, then there are a lot of other devices that do better than this at this price point. But again, I know many people want a specific Samsung smartphone, and if you're sort of that person and you're okay with this Samsung tax, I say, then you can go with this. To sum it up, I would say what I liked about this device is the build quality, the Super AMOLED screen that you get with the always on display, the looks, again, it looks and feels actually very premium. And also you have that Samsung Pay functionality if you use. And I also like the fact that this device is a proper dual SIM device. So you can actually add 2 SIM cards to this and also a micro SD card. There is a need these days for that if you require a lot of storage. So it's nice to see that Samsung has provided proper dual SIM support. Now for cons is that, again, as I've mentioned, it has that outdated processor, and also the RAM management is not done very well. And obviously you are paying that Samsung tax. So if you are okay paying that extra price to Samsung for a Samsung device, you can go with this device. Again, decide based on the pros and cons that I have mentioned. Again, I've also posted the gaming review for this device and also its unboxing video earlier. So links for those videos will be there in the YouTube description below. So again, check that out for more info. And if you're still not subscribed to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. This is Ranjit, and I hope to see you in my next video.